I think that's the unique thing about the Disneyland Haunted Mansion too. And obviously every Disney park has their own version of the Haunted Mansion, but the Disneyland Haunted Mansion, it's a year-round attraction and it's a ride. Whereas most haunted houses, you walk through it, they're scare actors. And you, even back then, all the haunted houses were very gore related, you know, blood, all that kind of stuff. Whereas with the Disneyland one, it's very clean, it's very well kept, and it's simple horror and it's enough for families. And I think that's what makes it such a unique ride. Yes.
I've always wanted to check out the Queen Mary.
Oh, I love the Queen Mary.
I've never been there. I've heard that the Queen Mary's haunted.
You've never been?
Matt, you've never been
Never
there?
been to the Queen Mary.
We got to make a Queen Mary run.
So I did the Haunted Harbor one year. Probably not my favorite haunted Halloween event, but it was cool. We actually, I think I might have talked about this before. I paid extra for one of those tours. It wasn't good. Like
I never went on any tours. I'll just like the vibe of Queen Mary.
The Queen Mary itself has a really creepy aura, and I think we should go. I think we should just go and enjoy it by ourselves. We don't have to do any extra stuff involved.
I agree.
And that's one of the most famous ones in the United States, you know?
That's so interesting. In that tour, when you went down the boiling room, there was like that little like steering wheel that just like moved. It was so like, okay.
Did you do a tour like that? Or, because I didn't do, okay, I did a tour of the Queen Mary when I was a little kid, but I don't remember it that much. I do remember the rudder room and how creepy that looked, you know?
Yeah, there was just things that they made like move, but you could tell like,
oh,
it's the Queen Mary making it do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not haunted, but it's still cool to walk through it and see it.
When we did the tour I was talking about during the Halloween event, we did we paid extra for a spooky, like,
it wasn't worth it.
Scary stuff was supposed to happen. We had to crawl through holes. People bagged us, but you could tell they were still like they had put it together that same day. It almost felt like they didn't have any thought put into it. They were just, let's put some boxes here and make them crawl through it. You know, it was the biggest waste of $20 I've ever spent in my life. So it was pretty bad. Like they were trying to make it actually scary, but everyone in our group was cracking up the whole time, and it wasn't meant to be funny, and nor was it even like fun because it was funny. It was just sad.
That sucks.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
So it's like Hell House almost, but crappier.
Like what?
Hell House or whatever that place is called.
Hell House.
Are you talking about that movie?
I thought that was a real thing, and then they
Hell House
debunked
is not real. It's like one of those mockumentaries.
Oh, it's a mockumentary? I thought it was...
seems like it's real. It's not. It's a mockumentary. They just made it look like it was real.
What was it?
Death House? It was like they went, a group of friends went, I think they were working on a haunted house or something. And like, you know, shit starts happening, like haunted stuff. But I thought it was real too. When I watched it, I was like, that's wild. Like, I need to do research on that. And so many people, like, in comments were like, yo, that's a mockumentary. That is
I've never even
real.
heard of that.
I was like, oh.
Because I thought it was like... I mean, hopefully we're talking about the same thing where people had to sign like the death waiver and stuff like that. And they pretty much got tortured. They paid to get tortured.
Okay, maybe we're not talking about
Oh, shit. Okay.
You're thinking about the McKamey...
You're talking about McKamey Manor.
Yeah.
That's and this is what bothers me is because I don't understand how that's a haunted house because there's nothing spooky that happens. It's just purely torture. Another fact, it doesn't even really exist. There's no haunted house, so it's in his backyard. And there's a room
time
in his house.
Welcome to Sarah's Conspiracy Corner.
You know what I mean? So
all right, let's hear it.
Really a thing.
Throw it at us. Let's hear it.
2 different documentaries on people that had went there, and the same thing happened. They went there. He puts you through all these like strenuous activities, dude. Like, gotta lift a bunch of weight. You gotta do this, do that, and then he waterboards you right there. Like, you see him. Like, he's getting waterboarded. He makes you like go through a maze where like freaking rats come out. And it's all in his backyard. You see it. And it's like, and then when you look up his house on the map, like where it says there's a haunted house, like there's nothing there.
So what is the conspiracy behind that? I don't understand.
Well, people think there's like this giant haunted house because you get blindfolded.
Right.
And it takes you 3 hours to get there. You're just driving around in circles. They're not really taking you to a haunted house. They just blindfold you, get there, you get to his house. He does all this fucked up shit to you. And then he pretty much, nobody ever wins the money. And he says that. He'll be like, it's impossible to win this money. You will not win this money. So don't do it if you're trying to get the monies.
When he first opened it, he was very vocal about it wasn't his backyard. When it was a small house, I know that he had to relocate to another state, and he has like a big plot of land.
There's nothing on behind his house on a big plot of land.
I want to know more about this conspiracy. Like,
Please
what is the reasoning behind that? Like, why does he make you think if that is? I don't understand the malice behind it. I think is where I'm going with that. Is if he's saying you're in this remote location, but it's really in his backyard, what's the harm with that?
I just think people really think there's a haunted house and they're going to go through a haunted house, and you don't ever make it to a haunted house because he tells you have to go through all these activities before you get to the house, but nobody ever makes it through like these activities before you actually get to the house.
But everyone, you've seen footage of the how do you say it? McKamey Manor. You've seen footage of it. You know, like you're being tortured going into it. So I almost feel like everyone that signs up for it knows that they're going to get waterboarded and like tortured the whole time. And it's not like a haunted house thing. Like I don't feel like they're just picking up random people saying you're going to go get scared in this house.
I guess it makes sense, but it's even like he'll be like, oh, it's only 1 in like 1,000 people that get picked. Every person that signs up for it gets picked.
Oh, okay. See, that's a good conspiracy.
Every single person. And they've made videos of people being like, oh, I'm going to sign up and see if I get, boom, everybody gets an email.
Have you heard about the Vegas millionaires that are betting on?
I've also heard that.
Yeah. I think that that's a fun conspiracy.
I think that's fun, but I don't think that's real.
I feel like that makes a little bit more sense though. Cause like, why would he be torturing these people for free? And he has enough money to keep this thing going.
I think he likes it.
Well, of course he likes it. He's definitely a sadist.
He works at Walmart, by the way.
And my thing is like, how is he able to keep this thing open?
Well, that's what I'm confused too. It's like, how are you allowed to do this to people?
Yeah.
I don't know.
They sign a waiver.
Well, they sign a waiver, but you have to make money in order to keep this thing because he has actors in there.
There's definitely the millionaires thing makes sense for the sponsor.
That was
if he
the
has
conspiracy.
sponsors, that way he can buy.
Well, it was
stuff.
kind of like hostile almost. Like these people, I don't remember the root of it, but it's basically the ones that are fascinated with the McKamey Manor conspiracy is that they think there's not a room, but like a betting table of millionaires in Vegas somewhere. And they're watching on monitors what's happening. And they're like getting off to this essentially. And they're bidding on, okay, we'll do this to them next, do this to them next, do this. And whoever has the highest bid gets that to happen.
Actually, no, that makes sense. Because, sometimes you go to haunted houses and there's that like scare button you can like pop when people are in the haunted house and it like pops something out. Like people are walking through the room.
Yes.
So that would make sense actually.
And it makes sense too, because why is he filming the whole time?
It's so weird to me. Have you ever like gone through and seen like that crazy? I get so sick whenever I watch it.
The videos of the people in there?
Yeah.
There's some people that just something in their brain makes them want. I used to want to go through it when I was like 19. Not real, because it didn't seem as gnarly at the time. And then you realize, oh, it's like 8 hours of this and it's worse and worse every time. I would never want to do that.
I was like, I could do this. I could get through this haunted house.
I think that's the problem, is a lot of people have that confidence too. I think there's a combo. There's the people that are really into that kind of stuff and they don't have that trigger in their brain. And there's other people that are just macho and they think that they can get through it and they really can't, because I think those are the people they really get harder.
Yeah, they have people like in the military go in there too, and they like come out all fucked up.
Yeah.
Like you thought you could handle that. There
was a girl that went through there, and apparently she had a heart attack or something like that. And she started coming out of it, and she's like, I can get through it. I can get through it. And like, you have to stop. Like, this is not okay.
Just like when they like put their fingers in people's mouths and like rip their mouths open. And
it's like that scene in Gangs
in
in New York you were talking about.
It was like
getting fish toe down.
Yeah. I'm like, bro, I can't handle this. And after they're done, their faces are all like swollen and their lips are all big.
I mean, it was a great time. I kind of wonder.
I had your friend Ty.
What is the most you would ever put up with in a haunted house? If you want to even call it a haunted house.
Not a lot. Not a lot. I don't want any interact. I don't want you to touch me ever.
Touch me and I'll sue.
Yeah.
In a haunted house.
So the pretty mild, like haunted Halloween Horror Nights vibe.
Yes, that's okay, because it's like, that's spooky. It's supposed to be a haunted house. Like, as soon as you start touching me, I don't like that. Yeah, when I was little and we went to Universal, it was like when the Mummy first opened, that like haunted house they had, like the walkthrough when I was little.
Oh.
That scared me when I was little.
Yeah.
That was scary to me.
Scare actors are terrifying.
I remember the Mummy haunted house. Oh my gosh. And the giant Anubis statue at the end.
Mm-hmm. Like, jumps out at you.
Do you guys remember, I think it was called Chamber of Horrors at Universal, and it was a year-round haunted attraction. It was right there in the front when you go past the main area, and then you could turn slightly left. It's where the Walking Dead maze has been the last few years.
Isn't that where they had a Chucky that would jump out?
Yes. So
okay.
I didn't know. That was actually, this is my first experience with a haunted attraction like that. I was like 10. I didn't know that it was jump scare actors. I thought on the front it says walk through the sets of Universal's famous horror monster movies. I was so excited. I was like, let's go see Frankenstein's set. Let's go see this, that. So we walk through it and everything's fine the first couple of places, and we go through the psycho part and a hand comes out and goes to grab me. And immediately I was like, nope. And just turned around like, we got to go. Run away! Run away! Run away! And we had waited in line, and my stepmom was so mad that I turned around. She's like, no, we're walking through this. Like, you said you wanted to go through it. We're doing it. It's like, I didn't know what it was. So we walked through this whole thing, and the whole time I'm just freaking out and wanted out so bad. And so for years, I didn't go into another one. I had no idea that's what we were walking into, but it was so cool. Like, comparatively, when you go through that one, and then years later, you go through the mild ones and stuff, you're like, that one was way better. But you're walking through like this catwalk, and you're seeing Frankenstein's monster up on the bed, getting electrocuted and everything, and there's scare actors all around you. It was so well done. But
I love stuff like that.
yeah.
I remember the Chucky, like, I know he had, like, whoever's doing it had, like, self-control. That Chucky, I kid you not, that knife got, like, this close to my face. And I'm just like, yo.
It was a really scary room because you're walking through a room of, like, toys and stuff, and he's just in a pile of toys and then gets up and starts walking towards you.
He was in a box for me.
He was in a box? He was in a pile of toys when I went through.
Oh, the Roosevelt. Is it the Roosevelt Hotel?
Roosevelt?
I heard that one's supposed to be haunted.
That's in Hollywood, right?
Yeah, that one's in Hollywood, I believe. And I believe there's a bowling alley in the Roosevelt, isn't there?
I don't know.
I could have swore, I think it was like Nerdist or something like that used to do bowling up there.
Is that the one that they say Marilyn Monroe's ghost haunts?
Oh, I don't know. I could look it up real quick.
Can you do that really quick? I'm pretty sure that Marilyn Monroe is, like, apparently a ghost that frequents that establishment.
That's hot.
Can I tell you guys a scary story? Oh, a really scary real thing that happened.
Yes.
So several years ago, me and Steven went to go see Bill Burr in Hollywood, and I was trying to surprise him. So I'm like, I'm going to book this really nice hotel, and this looks great. It's right down the street from it. So I booked the hotel. I surprised him with it, and it was a New Year's Eve show. So you go into the New Year with Bill Burr. So it starts like 11:30 and ends at 12:30. It was so much fun. But we get to the hotel, and as soon as we drive through it, like, the whole area is really ghetto around us. We're like, oh, this isn't as nice as we thought it was going to be. But we actually get to the hotel, and it's very, like, creepy looking up top. But then the lower part looks really nice. So it's like, okay. We park the car. We go in the lobby. It's very nice. And then we get to our room. And as soon as we get to our room, immediately we're like, this is not what we paid for. It looked like an apartment almost. It was so creepy. Wow. And there was no, like, bathroom in the room. There was a community bathroom. Just the whole place was dilapidated. It was not cute. So we were like, okay, whatever. So as we're in the room waiting for the show to get closer, we see a commercial for American Horror Story. And I remember Steven, he had just come back from San Diego, and he had, like, been walking down the street and saw that there was a hotel roped off. And he said, like, that someone had mentioned something about American Horror Story, and they all thought that they were filming it there. So we were like, well, we'll just look it up when we come back from the show, if they were filming it at that hotel you were looking at. So we go to the show, we come back, and it's like 2 a.m. And I remembered, oh yeah, I'm supposed to look that up. So I typed it in, and I'm reading about American Horror Story, and he's almost asleep. And I was like, oh my God. And he, like, wakes up, and he's like, what is it? So I'm reading this article, I'm looking at pictures, and I tell him that American Horror Story is not filmed at an actual hotel, but in a soundstage. However, events that took place on the show are based on real events that happened at the Cecil Hotel, which had been changed to the Stay on Main, which is the exact hotel we were staying in that moment. Of all the times to look that up, of all the times to learn about that, there was a Richard Ramirez copycat that had killed people in that hotel. There was so many suicides in that hotel.
Were you like, we gotta get out of here?
Well, no, I mean, there's nothing we could do about it. I mean, we could have left, but, like, nothing spooky was happening when we were in the room. But just the thought of all the times to look that up, of all the times to learn that, was when we were in that exact hotel.
That is so wild.
And I learned, and actually that girl, Elisa Lamb, the one that was in the water tank, that was a hotel that happened in. And I knew about that, but I didn't know it was that hotel because they had changed the name. And that it makes total sense, like, why it was so dilapidated, why it was so old, why they put a new mask on it and tried to, like, rent it out. It's not even a hotel anymore. You can't go there. Bummer. But yeah, I'm really glad we got to at least stay there. But no, nothing spooky happened or anything.
When I used to go to E3, the video game convention, we were looking up cheap hotel rooms and stuff like that. And we almost stayed at the Stay on Main.
Yeah.
And then we looked it up, and I saw that it had communal bathrooms. Yeah, communal bathrooms. I was like telling my buddies, I was like, I ain't doing no communal bathrooms. I like to poop in peace.
I didn't even know that they had communal bathrooms, or I probably would have said no. But it looked like a 5-star hotel for like $80 a night, and I was like, heck yeah,
It looked
$80
cool.
a
And
it
then,
was cheap, dude. It was also like 8 years ago, you know.
yeah, well, for me, it was like 12 years ago, I think 10 or 12 years ago.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it was that long ago.
Yeah.
For a few days after that girl was in the water tank, like no one knew she was up there, but the hotel guests were complaining because their water in the room was brown. And it was totally from her body. Like, could you imagine washing your hands with body water? What were you looking up though? You were going to tell us.
Marilyn Monroe's ghost, right?
Yes.
So it was not that hotel.
It wasn't? Why did I think that?
It was a weird name. The Hippodrome.
Whose ghost haunts the one I'm thinking of then?
So the Roosevelt, they said they have cited. Okay, so when I actually looked it up on a different way of Googling it, Marilyn Monroe's ghost has been cited.
I was right.
You were right.
I know my ghosts.
But yeah, you were right. Sorry.
What do you guys think makes a successful haunted house movie?
It depends on what you're going for. Are you going for true horror, or are you trying to make a good story?
What makes a good movie? Like, what would be a blockbuster movie?
Like The Conjuring? The Conjuring, I think, is a great ghost movie.
Does The Shining count?
I think that's one of the best ones.
Because that is like one of the legit movies that I watched that was like a haunted house that scared me.
That one is a haunted house movie.
It is very scary.
Yes.
To this day, I still get freaked out when you see that old woman in the bathtub.
Yeah.
No, hell no.
Ghost.
You didn't like The Shining, right?
I was okay with The Shining. I always I like reading the article that Stephen King hated The Shining.
Mm-hmm.
And I always think about that. And like, it almost makes me want to read the book, but I'm not a strong reader. So,
but what is it about the movies that makes them successful? Like, what makes The Shining a good haunted house movie?
Atmosphere.
I was gonna say the unsettling, like eerie vibe of the whole entire movie.
Yeah.
I think the atmosphere has to sell it, because if you look at that, The Conjuring, movies like that, they all have that. They keep that eerie tone to it, where it's just like, where's that?
Something's always off.
Yeah, something's always off, or you feel like someone's like every character feels like they have something. They feel like they're being watched pretty much.
Also, real quick, just because we were talking about The Shining and like how Stephen King didn't like how he did it, one of the reasons was because Jack, he wanted it to be like in the book, he's like a family man, he's super friendly, like, and instead Stanley Kubrick was like, no, I'm gonna make him like already have issues before he goes there. And Stephen King didn't like that, but I love the way Stanley Kubrick did it. I thought it was genius.
Do you think Kubrick kind of tried to give like a FU to Stephen King by like making him think like, because he had writer's block, to make him think like this is Stephen King in a way?
Well, I think that's actually what pissed Stephen King off, was he wrote Jack Torrance. Every character he makes is basically based on himself. You know, every story, every movie is about a writer. But with Jack Torrance, Stephen King was not thinking of himself as already having problems. So when he changed it, he's like, well, you're changing the person that I created. You know, you're changing me. That's my interpretation of that, at least.
But I felt like it was genius, because it's like,
yeah, it's fantastic.
Evil can take over if you allow it to.
Yeah. That's why we like it so much, because we aren't attached to it in the way that Stephen King is. That's his baby. But with a lot of haunted house movies, it's almost always family has a tragic thing happen. They move into a new house. All of a sudden something happens. They need to bring in an outside source to help them get rid of the haunting. And that is such an overdone thing. And that's what another thing I didn't like about this movie is quit making people move into a damn house.
It's just like a blueprint now for
yes.
like haunted
Oh
house
yeah,
movies.
it's totally. It's never I brought a ghost home or something. You know, something like that.
Yeah.
Like
there needs to be some other format out there. Like how we watched Talk to Me, and we thought that was a really unique take on things.
Yes.
I love that. And
Somebody make a haunted house movie.
how about
yes.
13
we need to get those
Ghosts?
2 guys that did. I didn't like 13 Ghosts, but I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I didn't like it.
Well, I'm just saying it was that one was different for sure.
Yeah, it was definitely a unique film for sure. But the 2 guys that made Talk to Me, they should make a haunted house film.
They absolutely should.
Dear the 2 directors of Talk to Me, write a haunted house film. We want to see it.
Absolutely.
Please. All right, guys. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Bye.